back with the 4 agreements by Miguel Ruiz. Let's see, we are on chapter 3, the second agreement. Don't take anything personally. The next 3 agreements are really born from the first agreement. The second agreement is don't take anything personally. Whatever happens around you, don't take it personally. Use an earlier example. If I see you on the street and I say, hey, you were so stupid, without knowing you, it's not about you, it's about me. Alright. If you take it personally, then perhaps you believe you are stupid. Maybe you think to yourself, how does he know? Is he clairvoyant? Or can everybody see how stupid I am? You take it personally because you agree with whatever was said. As soon as you agree, the poison goes through you, and you are trapped in the dream of hell. What causes you to be trapped is what we call the personal importance. Personal importance, or taking things personally, is the maximum expression of selfishness because we make the assumption that everything is about me. And during the period of our education or our domestication, we learn to take everything personally. We think we are responsible for everything. Me, always me. Nothing other people do is because of you. It is because of themselves. All people live in their own dream, in their own mind. They are in a completely different world from the one we live in. When we take something personally, we make the assumption that they know what is in our world, and we try to impose our world on their world. Even when a situation seems so personal, even if others insult you directly, it has nothing to do with you. What they say, what they do, and the opinions they give are according to the agreements they have in their own heads. Their point of view comes from all the programming they've received during domestication. If someone gives you an opinion and says, hey, you look so fat, don't take it personally, because the truth is that this person is dealing with his or her own feelings, beliefs, and opinions. That person tried to send poison to you, and if you take it personally, then you take that poison and it becomes yours. Taking things personally makes you easy prey for these predators, the black magicians. They can hook you easily with one little opinion and feed you whatever poison they want. And because you take it personally, you eat it up. You eat all their emotional garbage, and now it becomes your garbage. But if you do not take it personally, you are immune in the middle of hell. Immunity to poison in the middle of hell is the gift of this agreement. When you take things personally, then you feel offended, and your reaction is to defend your beliefs and create conflicts. You make something big out of something so little because you have the need to be right and make everybody else wrong. You also try hard to be right by giving them your own opinions. In the same way, whatever you feel and do is just a projection of your own personal dream, a reflection of your own agreements. What you say, what you do, and the opinions you have are according to the agreements you've made. And these opinions have nothing to do with me. It is not important to me what you think about me, and I don't take what you think personally. I don't take it personally when people say, Miguel, you are the best. And I also don't take it personally when they say, Miguel, you are the worst. I know that when you are happy, you will tell me, Miguel, you are such an angel. But when you are mad at me, you will say, oh, Miguel, you are such a devil. You are so disgusting. How can you say those things? Either way, it does not affect me because I know what I am. I don't have the need to be accepted. I don't have the need to have someone tell me, Miguel, you are doing so good, or how dare you do that? No, I don't take it personally. Whatever you think, whatever you feel, I know is your problem and not mine. It is the way you see the world. It is nothing personal because you are dealing with yourself and not with me. Others are going to have their own opinion according to their belief system, so nothing they think about me is really about me, but it is about them. You may even tell me, Miguel, what you are saying is hurting me. But it is not what I am saying that is hurting you, it is that you have wounds that I touch by what I have said. If you are hurting yourself, there is no way that I can take this personally. Not because I don't believe in you or don't trust you, but because I know that you see the world with different eyes, with your eyes. I feel like I get food in my teeth. Every time I get in front of a camera, I'm like, probably. You create an entire picture or movie in your mind. And in that picture, you were the director, you were the producer, you were the main actor or actress. Everyone else is a secondary actor or actress. It is your movie. The way that you see that movie is according to the agreements you have made with life. Their point of view is something personal to you. It is no one's truth but yours. Then, if you get mad at me, I know you are dealing with yourself. I am the excuse for you to get mad. And you get mad because you are afraid, because you are dealing with fear. If you are not afraid, there's no way you will get mad at me. If you are not afraid, there's no way you will hate me. If you are not afraid, there's no way you will be jealous or sad. If you live without fear, if you love, there's no place for any of those emotions. If you don't feel any of those emotions, it is logical that you will feel good. And when you feel good, everyone around you is good. When everything around you is great, everything makes you happy. You are loving everything that is around you because you are loving yourself. Because you like the way that you are. Because you are content with you. Because you are happy with your life. You are happy with the movie that you are producing. Happy with your agreements with life. You are at peace and you are happy. You live in that state of bliss where everything is so wonderful and everything is so beautiful. In that state of bliss, you are making love all the time with everything that you perceive. Whatever people do, feel, think, or say, don't take it personally. If they tell you how wonderful you are, they're not saying that because of you. You know you are wonderful. It is not necessary to believe other people who tell you that you are wonderful. Don't take anything personally. Even if someone got a gun and shot you in the head, it was nothing personal, even at that extreme. Even the opinions you have about, well, I don't think you could take it personally at that point if you got shot in the head, just saying. But you catch the drift, right? Even the opinions you have about yourself are not necessarily true. Therefore, you don't need to take whatever you hear in your own mind personally. The mind has the ability to talk to itself, but it also has the ability to hear information that is available from other realms. Sometimes you hear a voice in your mind and you may wonder where it came from. And this voice may have come from another reality in which there are living beings very similar to the human mind. The Toltecs called these beings allies. In Europe, Africa, and India, they call them the gods. Our mind also exists in the level of the gods. Our mind also lives in that reality and can perceive that reality. The mind sees with the eyes and perceives this waking reality. But the mind also sees and perceives without eyes, although the reason is hardly aware of this perception. The mind lives in more than one dimension. There may be times when you have ideas that don't originate in your mind, but you are perceiving them with your mind. You have the right to believe or not to believe these voices, and the right not to take what they say personally. We have a choice, whether or not to believe the voices we hear within our own minds, just as we have a choice of what to believe and agree with in the dream of the planet. The mind can also talk and listen to itself. The mind is divided as your body is divided. And just as you can say, I have one hand and I can shake my other hand. I feel the other hand. The mind can talk to itself. Part of the mind is speaking and the other part is listening. It is a big problem when 1,000 parts of your mind are all speaking at the same time. This is called a mitote. Remember, the mitote can be compared to a huge marketplace where thousands of people are talking and bartering at the same time. Each one has different thoughts and feelings. Each one has a different point of view. The programming in the mind, all of those agreements we have made are not necessarily compatible with each other. Every agreement is like a separate living being. It has its own personality and its own voice. There are conflicting agreements that go against other agreements and on until it becomes a big war in the mind. The mitote is the reason humans hardly know what they want, how they want it, or when they want it. They don't agree with themselves because there are parts of the mind that want one thing and other parts that want exactly the opposite. Some part of the mind has objections to certain thoughts and actions, and another part supports the actions of the opposing thoughts. All these little living beings create inner conflict because they are alive and they each have a voice. Only by making an inventory of our agreements we will uncover all the conflicts in the mind and eventually make order out of the chaos of the mitote. Don't take anything personally, because by taking things personally, you set yourself up to suffer for nothing. Humans are addicted to suffering at different levels and to different degrees, and we support each other in maintaining these addictions. Humans agree to help each other suffer. If you have the need to be abused, you will find it easy to be abused by others. Likewise, if you are with people who need to suffer, something in you makes you abuse them. It is as if they have a note on their back that says, "Please kick me." They're asking for justification for their suffering. Their addiction to suffering is nothing but an agreement that is reinforced every day. And wherever you go, you will find people lying to you. And as your awareness grows, you will notice that you also lie to yourself. Do not expect people to tell you the truth because they also lie to themselves. You have to trust yourself and choose to believe or not to believe what someone says to you. When we really see other people as they are without taking it personally, we can never be hurt by what they say or do. Even if others lie to you, it is okay. They're lying to you because they're afraid. They're afraid you will discover that they are not perfect. It is painful to take that social mask off. If others say one thing but do another, you are lying to yourself. That if you don't listen to their actions, but if you are truthful with yourself, you will save yourself a lot of emotional pain. Telling yourself the truth about it may hurt, but you don't need to be attached to the pain. Healing is on the way, and it's just a matter of time before things will be better for you. If someone is not treating you with love and respect, it is a gift that they walk away from you. If that person does not walk away, you will surely endure many years of suffering with him or her. Walking away may hurt for a while, but your heart will eventually heal, and then you can choose what you really want. You'll find that you don't need to trust others as much as you need to trust yourself to make the right choices. When you make it a strong habit not to take anything personally, you avoid many upsets in your life. Your anger, jealousy, and envy will disappear. And even your sadness will simply disappear if you don't take things personally. If you can make this second agreement a habit, you will find that nothing can put you back in hell. There's a huge amount of freedom that comes to you when you take nothing personally. You become immune to black magicians, and no spell can affect you regardless of how strong it may be. The whole world can gossip about you, and if you don't take it personally, you are immune. Someone can intentionally send emotional poison, and if you don't take it personally, you won't eat it. When you don't take the emotional poison, it becomes even worse in the sender, but not in you. You can see how important this agreement is. Taking nothing personally, it helps you to break many habits and routines that trap you in the dream of hell and cause needless suffering. Just by practicing the second agreement, you begin to break dozens of teeny tiny agreements that cause you to suffer. And if you practice the first two agreements, you will break 75% of the teeny tiny agreements that keep you trapped in hell. Write this agreement on paper. Put it on your refrigerator. To remind you all the time, don't take anything personally. As you make a habit of not taking anything personally, you won't need to place your trust in what others do or say. You will only need to trust yourself to make responsible choices. You are never responsible for the actions of others. You are only responsible for you. When you truly understand this and refuse to take things personally, You can hardly be hurt by the careless comments or actions of others. If you keep this agreement, you can travel around the world with your heart completely open and no one can hurt you. You can say, I love you, without fear of being ridiculed or rejected. You can ask for what you need. You can say yes or you can say no, whatever you choose, without guilt or self-judgment. You can choose to follow your heart, always. Then you can be in the middle of hell and still experience inner peace and happiness. You can stay in your state of bliss, and hell will not affect you at all. 4. Chapter 4. The third agreement. Don't make assumptions. This is an important one, guys. Okay, don't make assumptions about others, about shit. Okay? The third agreement is don't make assumptions. We have the tendency to make assumptions about everything. The problem with making assumptions is that we believe they are the truth. We could swear they are real. We make assumptions about what others are doing or thinking. We take it personally, then we blame them and react by sending emotional poison with our word. And that is why whenever we make assumptions, we're asking for problems. We make assumptions, we understand, we take it personally, or we misunderstand, we take it personally, and we end up creating a whole big drama for nothing. All the sadness and drama you have lived in your life was rooted in making assumptions and taking things personally. Take a moment to consider the truth of this statement. The whole war of control between humans is about making assumptions and taking things personally. Our whole dream of hell is based on that. We create a lot of emotional poison just by making assumptions and taking it personally, because we usually start gossiping about our assumptions. Remember, gossiping is a way we communicate to each other in the dream of hell and transfer poison to one another, because we are afraid to ask for clarification. We make assumptions and we believe we are right about the assumptions. Then we defend our assumptions and try to make somebody else wrong. It is always better to ask questions than to make an assumption, because assumptions set us up for suffering. The big mitote in the human mind creates a lot of chaos, which causes us to misinterpret everything and misunderstand everything. We only see what we want to see and we hear what we want to hear. We don't perceive things the way that they actually are, and we have the habit of dreaming with no basis in reality. We literally dream things up in our imaginations because we don't understand something. We make an assumption about the meaning. And when the truth comes out, the bubble of our dream pops and we find out it was not what we thought it was at all. An example, you are walking in the mall and you see a person you like. That person turns to you and smiles and walks away. You can make a lot of assumptions just because of this one experience. With these assumptions, you can create a whole fantasy, and you really want to believe this fantasy and make it real. A whole dream begins to form just from your assumptions. And you can believe, oh, this person really likes me in your mind. A whole relationship begins to form from that. Maybe you even get married in this fantasy land, but the fantasy is in your mind, in your personal dream. Making assumptions in our relationships is really asking for problems. Often we make the assumption that our partners know what we think and that we don't have to say what we want. We assume that they are going to do what we want because they know us so well. And if they don't do what we assume they should do, we feel so hurt and say, you should have known. Another example, you decide to get married. You make the assumption that your partner sees marriage the same way that you do. Then you live together and you find out that this is not true. This creates a lot of conflict, but you still don't try to clarify your feelings about marriage. The husband comes home from work and the wife is mad and the husband doesn't know why. Maybe it's because the wife made an assumption without telling him what she wants. She makes an assumption that he knows her so well and that he knows what she wants, and as if he can read her mind. She gets so upset because he fails to meet her expectations. Making assumptions in relationships leads to a lot of fights, a lot of difficulties, and a lot of misunderstandings with people we supposedly love. In any kind of relationship, we can make the assumption that others know what we think.
and we don't have to say what we want. They're going to do what we want because they know us so well. If they don't do what we want, what we assume they should do, we feel hurt and think, how could you do that? You should know. Again, we make the assumption that the other person knows what we want. A whole drama is created because we make this assumption and then put more assumptions on top of it. It is very interesting how the human mind works. We have the need to justify everything, to explain and understand everything, in order to feel safe. We have millions of questions that need answers because there's so many things that the reasoning mind cannot explain. It is not important if the answer is correct. Just the answer itself makes us feel safe. This is why we make assumptions. If others tell us something, we make assumptions. And if they don't tell us something, we make assumptions to fulfill our need to know and to replace the need to communicate. Even if we hear something and we don't understand, we make assumptions about what it means and then believe the assumptions. We make all sorts of assumptions because we don't have the courage to ask questions. These assumptions are made so fast and unconsciously most of the time because we have agreements to communicate this way. We have agreed that it's not safe to ask questions. We have agreed that if people love us, they should know what we want or how we feel. When we believe something, we assume we are right about it, to the point that we will destroy relationships in order to defend our position. We make the assumption that everyone sees life the way that we do. We assume that others think the way that we think. We feel the way that we feel. Judge the way that we judge. And abuse the way that we abuse. This is the biggest assumption that humans make. And this is why we have a fear of being ourselves around others, because we think everyone else will judge us, victimize us, abuse us, and blame us as we do ourselves. So even before others have a chance to reject us, we have already rejected ourselves. That is the way the human mind works. We also make assumptions about ourselves, and this creates a lot of inner conflict. I think I'm able to do this. You make this assumption, for instance, and you discover you aren't able to do it. You overestimate or underestimate yourself because you haven't taken the time to ask yourself questions and to answer them. Perhaps you need to gather more facts about a particular situation, or maybe you need to stop lying to yourself about what you truly want. Often when you go into a relationship with someone you like, you have to justify why you like that person. You only see what you want to see, and you deny there are things that you don't like about that person. You lie to yourself just to make yourself right. Then you make assumptions. And one of the assumptions is, my love will change this person. But this is not true. Your love will not change anybody. If others change, it's because they want to change, not because you can change them. Then something happens between the two of you and you get hurt. Suddenly you see what you didn't want to see before. Only now it is amplified by your emotional poison. Now you have to justify your emotional pain and blame them for your choices. We don't need to justify love. It is there or not there. Real love is accepting other people the way that they are without trying to change them. If we try to change them, this means that we don't really like them. Of course, if you decide to live with someone, if you make that agreement, it is better to make that agreement with someone who is exactly the way you want him or her to be. Find someone who you don't have to change at all. It is much easier to find somebody who is already the way you want him or her to be instead of trying to change that person. Also, that person must love you just the way you are, so he or she doesn't have to change you at all. If others feel they have to change you, that means they really don't love you, just the way you are. So why be with someone if you're not the way he or she wants you to be? We have to be what we are, so we don't have to present a false image. If you love me the way I am, okay, take me. If you don't love me the way I am, okay, goodbye. Find someone else. It may sound harsh, but this kind of communication means the personal agreements we make with others are clear and impeccable. Just imagine the day that you stop making assumptions with your partner, and eventually with everyone else in your life. Your way of communicating will change completely, and your relationships will no longer suffer from conflicts created by mistaken assumptions. The way to keep yourself from making assumptions is to ask questions. Make sure the communication is clear. If you don't understand, ask. Have the courage to ask questions until you are clear or as you can be. And even then, do not assume you know all there is to know about a given situation. Once you hear the answer, you will not have to make assumptions because you will know the truth. Also, find your voice to ask for what you want. Everybody has the right to tell you yes or no, but you always have the right to ask. Likewise, everybody has a right to ask you, and you have the right to say yes or no. If you don't understand something, it is better for you to ask and be clear instead of making an assumption. The day you stop making assumptions, you will communicate cleanly and clearly, free of emotional poison. Without making assumptions, your word becomes impeccable. With clear communication, all of your relationships will change, not only with your partner, but with everyone else. You won't need to make assumptions because everything becomes so clear. This is what I want. This is what you want. If we communicate in this way, our word becomes impeccable. If all humans could communicate in this way, with impeccability of the word, there would be no wars, no violence, no misunderstandings. All human problems would be resolved if we could just have good, clear communication. This, then, is a third agreement. Do not make assumptions. Just saying this sounds easy, but I understand that it is difficult to do. It is difficult because we so often do exactly the opposite. We have all these habits and routines we are not even aware of. Becoming aware of these habits and understanding the importance of this agreement is the first step. But understanding its importance is not enough. Information or an idea is merely the seed in your mind. What will really make the difference is the action. Taking action over and over again strengthens your will, nurtures the seed, and establishes a solid foundation for the new habit to grow. After many repetitions, these new agreements will become second nature, and you will see how the magic of your word transforms you from a black magician into a white magician. A white magician uses a word for creation, giving, sharing, and loving. By making this one agreement a habit, your whole life will be completely transformed. When you transform your whole dream, magic just happens in your life. What you need comes to you easily because Spirit moves freely through you. And this is the mastery of intent, the mastery of the Spirit, the mastery of love, the mastery of gratitude, the mastery of life. This is the goal of the Toltec. This is the path to personal freedom. Chapter 5. I can't believe we're already at the last agreement. I'm going to have to start another book today. The fourth agreement. Always do your best. There's just one more agreement, but it's the one that allows the other three to become deeply ingrained habits. The fourth agreement is about the action of the first three. Always do your best. Under any circumstance, always do your best. No more and no less. But keep in mind that your best is never going to be the same from one moment to the next. Everything is alive and changing all the time, so do your best. So your best will sometimes be a high quality, and other times it will not be as good. When you wake up refreshed and energized in the morning, your best will be better than when you are tired at night. Your best will be different when you are healthy as opposed to sick, or sober as opposed to drunk. Your best will depend on whether you are feeling wonderful and happy, or upset, angry, or jealous. In your everyday moods, your best can change from one moment to another, from 1 hour to the next, from one day to another. Your best will also change over time. As you build the habit of the 4 new agreements, your best will become better than it used to be. Regardless of the quality, keep doing your best. No more and no less than your best. If you try too hard, to do more than your best, you will spend more energy than is needed, and in the end, your best will not be enough. And when you overdo, you deplete your body and go against yourself, and it will take you longer to accomplish your goal. But if you do less than your best, you subject yourself to frustration, self-judgment, guilt, and regrets. Just do your best in any circumstance in life. It doesn't matter if you are sick or tired. If you always do your best, there's no way you can judge yourself. And if you don't judge yourself, there's no way you're going to suffer from guilt, blame, and self-punishment. And by always doing your best, you will break a big spell that you have been under. There was a man who wanted to transcend his suffering, so he went to a Buddhist temple to find a master to help him. He went to the master and asked, "Master, if I meditate for 4 hours a day, how long will it take me to transcend?" The master looked at him and said, "If you meditate 4 hours a day, perhaps you will transcend in 10 years. Thinking he could do better, the man then said, "Oh, Master, what if I meditated 8 hours a day? How long will it take me to transcend?" The master looked at him and said, "If you meditate 8 hours a day, perhaps you will transcend in 20 years. But why will it take me longer if I meditate more?" The master replied, "You are not here to sacrifice your joy or your life. You are here to live and to be happy and to love. If you can do your best in 2 hours of meditation, but you spend 8 hours instead, you will only grow tired, miss the point, and you won't enjoy your life. Do your best, and perhaps you will learn that no matter how long you meditate, you can live, love, and be happy. Doing your best, you are going to live your life intensely. You are going to be productive. You are going to be good to yourself, because you will be giving yourself to your family, your community, and to everything. But it is the action that is going to make you feel intensely happy. When you always do your best, you take action. Doing your best is taking the action because you love it, not because you're expecting a reward. Most people do exactly the opposite. They only take action when they expect a reward, and they don't enjoy the action. And that's the reason they don't do their best. For example, most people go to work every day just thinking of payday, and the money will get from the work they will get from the work they are doing. They can hardly wait for Friday or Saturday, whatever day they receive their money, and can take time off. They are working for the reward, and as a result, they resist work. They try to avoid the action, and it becomes more difficult, and they don't do their best. They work so hard all week long, suffering the work, suffering the action, not because they like to, but because they feel they have to. They have to work, and they have to pay the rent, because they have to support their family. They have all that frustration, and when they do receive their money, they're unhappy. They have 2 days to rest and to do what they want. And what do? They try to escape. They get drunk because they don't like themselves. They don't like their life. There are many ways that we hurt ourselves when we don't like who we are. On the other hand, if you take action just for the sake of doing it without expecting a reward, you will find that you enjoy every action you do. Rewards will come, but you are not attached to the reward. You can even get more than you would have imagined for yourself without expecting a reward. I would like to say that that itself was an assumption that people drink because they don't like themselves. I disagree. There's a lot of people who drink for celebration. Not everyone who drinks is a fucking alcoholic, okay? Just saying. If we like what we do, if we always do our best, then we are really enjoying our life. We are having fun. We don't get bored. We don't have frustrations. When you do your best, you don't give the judge the opportunity to find you guilty or to blame you. If you have done your best and the judge tries, sorry, I got a text and then it distracted me. Where was I? If you have done your best and the judge tries to judge you according to your book of law, you've got the answer. I did my best. There are no regrets. And that is why we always do our best. It is not an easy agreement to keep, but this agreement is really going to set you free. When you do your best, you learn to accept yourself, but you have to be aware and learn from your mistakes. Learning from your mistakes means you practice, look honestly at the results, and keep practicing. This increases your awareness. Doing your best really does feel like work because you enjoy whatever you were doing. You know you are doing your best when you are enjoying the action or doing it in a way that will not have a negative repercussions for you. You do your best because you want to do it, not because you have to do it, not because you are trying to please the judge, and not because you are trying to please other people. If you take action because you have to, then there is no way you are going to do your best. Then it is better not to do it. No, you do your best because you're doing your best all the time makes you happy. When you are doing your best just for the pleasure of doing it, you're taking action because you enjoy the action. That's the difference between a career and a job, let's be real. But you know, if you have to strip to support your family, maybe enjoy stripping. That's what I'm gathering from this. If you have to break your back in a field to support your family, enjoy breaking your back. That's kind of, I don't know, part of me kind of disagrees with this. Because I feel like, we live in a world where we're literally forced into slavery, right? And yeah, we can take the Epictetus route and always be in good spirits, but are we being honest with ourselves if we're saying, I love doing this and I love being a slave to the system because I'm forced into slavery? I feel like, I don't know, maybe, I don't know. That's my opinion. I'll leave my opinions out. I just disagree with this part of the book, just saying. Action is about living fully. Inaction is a way we deny life. Inaction is sitting in front of the television every day for years because you are afraid to be alive and take the risk of expressing what you are. Expressing what you are is taking action. You can have many great ideas in your head, but what makes the difference is the action. Without the action upon an idea, there will be no manifestation, no result, and no reward. A good example of this comes from the story about Forrest Gump. He didn't have great ideas, but he took action. He was happy because he always did his best at whatever he did. He was richly rewarded without expecting any reward at all. Taking action is being alive. It's taking the risk to go out and express your dream. This is different than imposing your dream on someone else because everyone has a right to express his or her own dream. Doing your best is a great habit to have. I do my best in everything I do and feel. Doing my best has become a ritual in my life because I made the choice to make it a ritual. It's a belief like any other belief that I choose. I make everything a ritual, and I always do my best. Taking a shower is a ritual for me. And with that action, I tell my body how much I love it. I feel and enjoy the water on my body. I do my best to fulfill the needs of my body. I do my best to give to my body and to receive what my body gives to me. In India, they perform a ritual called puja. Puja or puya? Whatever. In this ritual, they take idols that represent God in many different forms and bathe them, feed them, and give their love to them. They even chant mantras to these idols. The idol itself is not important. What is important is the way they perform the ritual, the way they say, I love you, God. God is life. God is life in action. The best way to say I love you, God, is to live your life doing your best. The best way to say thank you, God, is by letting go of the past and living in the present moment, right here and now. Whatever life takes away from you, let it go. When you surrender and let go of the past, you allow yourself to be fully alive in the moment. Letting go of the past means you can enjoy the dream that is happening right now. And if you live in the past dream, you don't enjoy what is happening right now because you will always wish it to be different than it is. There is no time to miss anyone or anything because you are alive. Not enjoying what is happening right now is living in the past and being only half alive. This leads to self-pity, suffering, and tears. You were born with the right to be happy. You were born with the right to love, to enjoy, and to share your love. You're alive, so take your life and enjoy it. Don't resist life passing through you, because that is God passing through you. Just your existence proves the existence of God. Your existence proves the existence of life and energy. We don't need to know or prove anything, just to be. To take that risk and enjoy your life. Is that all that matters? Say no when you want to say no, and say yes when you want to say yes. You have the right to be you. You can only be you when you do your best. And when you don't do your best, you are denying yourself the right to be you. That's a seed that you should really nurture in your mind. You don't need knowledge or great philosophical concepts. You don't need the acceptance of others. You express your own divinity by being alive and by loving yourself and others. It is an expression of God to say, hey, I love you. The first 3 agreements will only work if you do your best. Don't expect that you will always be able to be impeccable with your word. Your routine habits are too strong and firmly rooted in your mind that you can do your best. Don't expect that you will never take anything personally. Just do your best. Don't expect that you will never make another assumption like you just did. But you can certainly do your best. By doing your best, the habits of misusing your word, taking things personally, and making assumptions will become weaker and less frequent with time. You don't need to judge yourself, feel guilty, or punish yourself if you cannot keep these agreements. If you're doing your best, you will feel good about yourself, even if you still make assumptions, still take things personally, and still are not impeccable with your word. If you do your best always, over and over again, you will become a master of transformation. Practice makes the master. By doing your best, you become the master. Everything you have ever learned, you learned through repetition. You learned to write, to drive, and even to walk by repetition. You are a master of speaking your language because you practiced. Action is what makes the difference. If you do your best in the search for personal freedom, in the search for self-love, you will discover that it's just a matter of time before you find what you are looking for. It's not about daydreaming or sitting for hours and dreaming in meditation. You have to stand up and be a human. You have to honor the man or woman that you are. Respect your body, enjoy your body, love your body, feed and clean and heal your body. Exercise and do what makes your body feel good. This is puja to your body, and that is a communion between you and God. You don't need to worship idols of the Virgin Mary, the Christ, or the Buddha. You can if you want to, if it feels good to do it. Your own body is a manifestation of God, and if you honor your body, everything will change for you. When you practice giving love to every part of your body, you plant seeds of love in your mind, and when they grow, you will love, honor, and respect your body immensely. Every action then becomes a ritual in which you are honoring God. After that, the next step is honoring God with every thought, every emotion, every belief, even what is right or wrong. Every thought becomes a communication with God. And you will live a dream without judgments, victimization, and free of the need to gossip and abuse yourself. When you honor these 4 agreements together, there is no way that you will live in hell. There is no way, if you are impeccable with your word, if you don't take anything personal, if you don't make assumptions, if you always do your best, then you are going to have a beautiful life. I have to reread that part because that confused me. There is no way, period. Okay? If you are impeccable with your word, if you don't take anything personal, if you don't make assumptions, if you always do your best, then you are going to have a beautiful life. You're going to control your life 100%. The 4 agreements are a summary of the mastery of transformation, one of the masteries of the Toltec. You transform hell into heaven. The dream of the planet is transformed into your personal dream of heaven. The knowledge is there, it's just waiting for you to use it. The 4 agreements are there, you just need to adopt these agreements and respect their meaning and power. Just do your best to honor these agreements, and you can make this agreement today. I choose to honor the 4 agreements. It's so simple and logical that even a child can understand them. But you must have a very strong will to keep these agreements. Why? Because wherever we go, we find that our path is full of obstacles. Everyone tries to sabotage our commitment to these new agreements. And everything around us is a setup for us to break them. Facts. The problem is, all the other agreements that are part of the dream of the planet, they are alive and they are very strong. That's why you need to be a great hunter, a great warrior, who can defend these 4 agreements with your life. Your happiness, your freedom, your entire way of living depends on it. The warrior's goal is to transcend this world, to escape from this hell and never come back. As the Toltecs teach us, the reward is to transcend the human experience of suffering and to become the embodiment of God. That is the reward. We really need to use every bit of power we have to succeed in keeping these agreements. I didn't expect that I could do it at first. I have fallen many times, but I stood up and kept going. And I fell again, and I kept going, and I didn't feel sorry for myself. There was no way that I felt sorry for myself. I said that if I fall, I'm strong enough. If I'm intelligent enough, I can do it. And I stood up, and I kept going, and I fell, and I kept going. And each time it became easier and easier, yet in the beginning it was so hard, so difficult. So if you fall, do not judge. Do not give your judge the satisfaction of turning you into a victim. No, be tough with yourself. Stand up, make the agreement again. Okay, I broke my agreement to be impeccable with my word. I will start all over again. I'm going to keep the 4 agreements just for today. Today, I will be impeccable with my word. I will not take anything personally. I will not make any assumptions. And I'm going to do my best. If you break an agreement, I'm sorry. It's hard for me to repeat myself over and over, but I feel like it's part of the brainwashing of the 4 agreements to do it over and over. You gotta get it embedded in your head. I'm sorry. It's very repetitious. My autism can't handle the repetition. I'm like, help! If you break an agreement, begin again tomorrow and again the next day. It will be difficult at first, but each day will become easier and easier until someday you will discover that you are ruling your life with these 4 agreements, and you will be surprised at the way your life has been transformed. You don't need to be religious or go to church every day. Your love and self-respect are growing and growing. You can do it. If I did it, you can do it also. Do not be concerned about the future. Keep your attention on today and stay in the present moment. Just live one day at a time. Always do your best to keep these agreements, and soon it will be easy for you. Today is the beginning of a new dream. Chapter 6. The Toltec Path to Freedom. Breaking Old Agreements. Everybody talks about freedom all around the world. Different people, different races, different countries are fighting for freedom. But what is freedom? In America, we speak of living in a free country, but are we really free? Are we free to be who we really are? No. The answer is no. We are not free. True freedom has to do with the human spirit. It is a freedom to be who we really are. Who stops us from being free? We blame the government, we blame the weather, we blame our parents, we blame religion, we blame God. Who really stops us from being free? We stop ourselves. Voters. What does it really mean to be free? Sometimes we get married and we say that we lose our freedom. Then we get divorced and we're still not free. What stops us? Why can't we be ourselves? We have memories of long ago when we used to be free and we loved being free. But we have forgotten what freedom really means. If we see a child who is 2 or 3, perhaps 4 years old, we find a free human. Why is this human free? Because they're not in forced slavery yet, actually. Because this human does whatever he or she wants to do. This human is completely wild. Exactly, that's what I was saying. And just like a flower, a tree, or an animal that has not been domesticated wild, and if we observe other humans who are 2 years old, we find that most of the time these humans have a big smile on their face and they're having fun because they're not slaves to a system. They're exploring the world. They're not afraid to play. They're afraid when they are hurt. When they are hungry. When some of their needs are not met. But they don't worry about the past and they don't care about the future. They only live in the present moment. And very young children are not afraid to express what they feel. They're so loving that if they perceive love, they melt into love. They are not afraid to love at all. That is a description of a normal human being. As children, we are not afraid of the future, ashamed of the past. Our normal human tendency is to enjoy life, to play, to explore, to be happy, and to love. But what has happened with the adult human? Why are we so different? Why are we not wild? We were domesticated and forced into slavery. From the point of view of the victim, we can say that something sad happened to us. And from the point of view of the warrior, we can say that what happened to us is normal. I don't think that's normal or natural. What has happened to us is that we have the book of law, the big judge, and the victim who rule our lives. We are no longer free because the judge, the victim, and the belief system don't allow us to be who we really are. Once our minds have been programmed with all that garbage, we are no longer happy. This chain of training from human to human, from generation to generation, is perfectly normal in human society. Nothing is normal in human society. You don't need to blame your parents for teaching you to be like them. What else could they teach you but what they know? They did the best they could, and if they abused you, it was due to their own domestication, their own fears, their own beliefs. They had no control over the programming they received, so they couldn't have behaved any differently. There is no need to blame your parents or anyone who abused you in your life, including yourself. It is time to stop the abuse. It is time to free yourself of the tyranny of the judge by changing the foundation of your own agreement. It is time to be free from the role of the victim. The real you is still a little child who never grew up. Sometimes that little child comes out when you are having fun or playing, when you feel happy or in alignment with your purpose, right? When you feel, or when you are painting or writing poetry or playing the piano or expressing yourself in some way, which most Americans don't have time to do most of that shit because, whatever. I'm just gonna keep reading. These are the happiest moments of your life, when the real you comes out, when you don't care about the past, when you don't worry about the future, when you are childlike. When you don't have bills to pay and children to feed, shit like that, and you have time to actually do things that you like, okay. There is something that changes all that. We call them responsibilities. The judge says, wait a second, you were responsible. You have to do things. You have to work. You have to go to school. You have to earn a living. All these responsibilities come to mind. Our face changes and becomes serious again. If you watch children when they're playing adults, you will see their little faces change. Let's pretend I'm a lawyer, and right away their faces change. The adult face takes over. We go to court, and that's the face we see, and that's what we are, and we are still children, but we have lost our freedom. The freedom we are looking for is a freedom to be ourselves, to express ourselves, but if we look at our lives, we'll see that most of the time we do things just to please others. I don't think that we do things just to please others. I think we do things because we have to do them in order to survive. That's kind of the name of the game. But I'll continue with what this fool is saying. Just to be accepted by others, rather than living our lives to please ourselves. And that is what happened to our freedom. And we see in our society and all the societies around the world, and for every 1,000 people, and that for every 1,000 people, 999 are completely domesticated. The worst part is that most of us are not even aware that we are not free. How? There is something inside us that whispers to us that we are not free, but we do not understand what it is and why we are not free. The problem with most people is that they live their lives and never discover that the judge and the victim rule their mind, and therefore they don't have a chance to be free. The first step towards personal freedom is awareness. We need to be aware that we are not free. In order to be free, we need to be aware of what the problem is in order to solve the problem. We are aware it's forced slavery. Societal slavery, right? Like, we just went from being slaves in the fields and slaves on the railroad tracks and all that to just being paid slaves, right? And we're still getting slave wages where we can barely, like, the price of living has gone up so high that most people can't even afford a bedroom on one income, right? Or they can't afford a house or an apartment on one income. They have to have roommates. They have to live with other people. They have to combine forces, because I feel like in a place where you're actually free, you don't need all that extra stuff. You would be able to do that. You would have whatever. I'm gonna stop rambling. You would have the freedom to be able to live without, all this extra bullshit. I love how rich people are always like, the problem is you're just not making time for yourself to have all this fun and do all this. Dude, I know a woman who breaks her back in the fields for like 12 hours a day. Like, what do you fucking mean? She's gonna come back home and be like, I think I'm just gonna sit on my piano and be free all night. No, she's exhausted. You can't feel free when you're too exhausted to even... Whatever. Awareness is always the first step, because if you are not aware, like you are not, there is nothing you can change. If you are not aware that your mind is full of wounds and emotional poison, you cannot begin to clean and heal the wounds, and you will continue to suffer. There is no reason to suffer. With awareness, you can rebel and say, this is enough. You can look for a way to heal and transform your personal dream. The dream of the planet is just a dream. It is not even real. If you go into the dream and start challenging your beliefs, you will find that most of the beliefs that guided you into the wounded mind are not even true. You will find that you have suffered all those years of drama for nothing. Why? Because the belief system that was put inside your mind was based on lies. That is why it is important for you to master your own dream, and that's why the Toltecs became dream masters. Your life is a manifestation of your dream. It is an art, and you can change your life anytime you aren't enjoying the dream. Dream masters create a masterpiece of life. They control the dream by making choices. Everything has consequences, and a dream master is aware of the consequences. To be Toltec is a way of life. It is a way of life where there are no leaders and no followers, where you have your own truth and live your own truth, where you have no bills and you have no debts and you have no children and you're able to just be free, right? A Toltec, sorry, that was my own fucking shit right there. Sorry. I just think that some aspects of this book are kind of ignorant, but the rest are pretty good. A Toltec becomes wise, becomes wild, and becomes free again. There are 3 masteries that lead people to become Toltecs. First is a mastery of awareness. This is to be aware of who we really are, with all the possibilities. The second is a mastery of transformation, how to change, how to be free of domestication. The third is a mastery of intent. Intent from the Toltec point of view is that part of life that makes transformation of energy possible. It is the one living being that seamlessly encompasses all energy, or what we call God. Intent is life itself. It is unconditional love. Mastery of intent, therefore, is therefore the mastery of love. When we talk about the Toltec path to freedom, we find that they have an entire map for breaking free of domestication. They compare the judge, the victim, and the belief system to a parasite that invades the human mind. From the Toltec point of view, all humans who are domesticated are sick. Yes? They're sick because there's a parasite that controls their mind and controls the brain. Yeah, like having to pay bills. Having to pay to exist on a planet you didn't ask to exist on. The food for the parasite is the negative emotions that come from fear. If we look at the description of a parasite, we find that the parasite is a living being who lives off of other living beings, like our government, sucking their energy without any useful contribution in return. Like our government, that's crazy. And hurting their host little by little, just like the government. That's insane. The judge, the victim, and the belief system fit this description very well. Together, they comprise a living being made of psychic or emotional energy, and that energy is alive. Of course, it is not material energy, but neither are emotions material energy. Our dreams are not material energy either, but we know they exist. One function of the brain is to transform material energy into emotional energy. Our brain is a factory of emotions, and we have said that the main function of the mind is to dream. The Toltecs believe that the parasite, the judge, the victim, in the belief system has control of your mind. It controls your personal dream. The parasite dreams through your mind and lives its life through your body. It survives on the emotions that come from fear, and thrives on drama and suffering. And the freedom we seek is to use our own mind and our own body to live our own life instead of the life of the belief system. When we discover that the mind is controlled by the judge and the victim, and the real us is in the corner, we have just two choices. One choice is to keep living the way we are, to surrender to the judge and the victim, to keep living in the dream of the planet. The second choice is to do what we do as children when parents try to domesticate us. We can rebel and say no. We can declare a war against the parasite, a war against the judge and the victim, a war for our independence, a war for our right to use our own mind and our own brain. This is why in all the shamanic traditions in America, from Canada to Argentina, people call themselves warriors, because they are in a war against the parasite of the mind, or against the powers that be, right? That is the real meaning of a warrior. The warrior is one who rebels against the invasion of the parasite. The warrior rebels and declares war. But to be a warrior doesn't mean we always win the war. We may win or we may lose. Though we always do our best, and at least we have a chance to be free again. Choosing this path gives us, at the very least, the dignity of rebellion, and ensures that we will not be the helpless victim of our own whimsical emotions, or the poisonous emotions of others. Even if we succumb to the enemy, the parasite, we will not be among those victims who would not fight back. At best, being a warrior gives us an opportunity to transcend the dream of the planet, and to change our personal dream to a dream that we call heaven. Just like hell, heaven is a place that exists within our mind. But if you guys try to quit your job, guess what? You don't have any financial freedom for anything. So, we are kind of still stuck in this dream, whether or not we like it. It is a place of joy, a place where we are happy, where we are free to love and to be who we really are. We can reach heaven while we're alive. We don't have to wait until we die. God is always present, and the kingdom of heaven is everywhere. But first, we need to have the eyes and ears to see and hear the truth. We need to be free of the parasite. The parasite can be compared to a monster with 1,000 heads. Every head of the parasite is one of the... Hold on. Alright, I'm back. God is always present, and the kingdom of heaven is everywhere. But first, we need to have the eyes and ears to see and hear that truth. We need to be free of the parasite. The parasite can be compared to a monster with 1,000 heads. Every head of the parasite is one of the fears that we have. If we want to be free, we have to destroy the parasite. That I agree with. We do need to destroy fear in our hearts and in our minds. One solution is to attack the parasite head by head, which means that we face each of our fears one by one. This is a slow process, but it works. Every time we face one of the fears, we are a little bit more free. A second approach is to stop feeding the parasite. If we don't give the parasite any food, we kill the parasite by starvation. To do this, we have to gain control of our emotions. We have to refrain from feeling the emotions that come from fear. This is easy to say, but it is very difficult to do. It is difficult because the judge and the victim control our mind. A third solution is called the initiation of the dead. The initiation of the dead is found in many traditions and esoteric schools around the world. We find it in Egypt, India, Greece, and America. This is a symbolic death which kills the parasite without harming our physical body. When we die, symbolically, the parasite has to die. This is faster than the first two solutions, but it is even more difficult to do so. We need a great deal of courage to face the angel of death. We need to be very strong. Let's take a closer look at each of these solutions. The art of transformation, the dream of the second attention. We have learned that the dream you are living now is the result of the outside dream, hooking your attention and feeding you all your beliefs. The process of domestication can be called the dream of the first attention because it is how your attention was used for the first time to create the first dream of your life. One way to change your beliefs is to focus your attention on all those agreements and beliefs and change the agreements with yourself. In doing this, you are using your attention for the second time, thus creating the dream of the second attention, or the new dream. The difference is that you are no longer innocent. You were a child. This was not true. You didn't have a choice, but you are no longer a child. Now it's up to you. Now it's up to you to choose what to believe and what not to believe. You can choose to believe in anything, and that includes believing in yourself. The first step is to become aware of the fog that is in your mind. You must become aware that you are dreaming all the time. Only with awareness do you have the possibility of transforming your dream. You have the awareness that the whole drama of your life is the result of what you believe, and what you believe is not real. Then you can begin to change it. However, to really change your beliefs, you need to focus your attention on what it is that you want to change. You have to know which agreements you want to change before you can change them. So the next step is to develop awareness of all the self-limiting, fear-based beliefs that you make unhappy, or that make you unhappy. See, there's my dyslexia. You take an inventory of all that you believe, all your agreements, and through this process you begin the transformation. The Toltecs called this the art of transformation, and it's a whole mastery. You achieve the mastery of transformation by changing the fear-based agreements that make you suffer, and reprogramming your own mind in your own way. One of the ways to do this is to explore and adopt alternative beliefs, such as the Four Agreements. The decision to adopt the Four Agreements is a declaration of war to regain your freedom from the parasite. The Four Agreements offer the possibility of ending the emotional pain, which can open the door for you to enjoy your life and begin a new dream. It's up to you to explore the possibilities of your dream if you are interested. The Four Agreements were created to assist you in the art of transformation, to help you break the limiting agreements, gain more personal power, and become stronger. The stronger you get, the more agreements you can break, until the moment comes when you make it to the core of all those agreements. Going to the core of those agreements is what I call going into the desert. When you go into the desert, you meet your demons face to face. After coming out of the desert, all those demons become angels. Practicing the Four New Agreements is a big act of power. Breaking the spell of black magic in your mind requires a great deal of personal power. Every time you break an agreement, you gain extra power. You start by breaking agreements that are very small and require less power. As those smaller agreements are broken, your personal power will increase until you reach a point when you can finally face the big demons in your mind. For example, the little girl who was told not to sing is now 20 years old, and she still does not sing. One way she can overcome the belief that her voice is ugly is to say, okay, I will try to sing, even if I do sing badly. Then she can pretend that someone is clapping and telling her, oh, that was beautiful. This may break the agreement a teeny tiny bit, but it will still be there. However, now she has a little more power and courage to try again and again until she finally breaks the agreement. I actually have a funny story about that. I know, I'm the queen of interjecting. But when I was a kid, I did choir, right? And my choir person, the person that leads it and teaches, they were like, they would always say like, oh, your voice is just not right, like you need to go higher here, you need to do this, you need to, and I was trying and trying, and I always felt like I was a terrible singer because of that. Then in middle school, I joined a punk rock band and found where my voice actually shines, right? And then I went from punk rock to hip hop to rap to soul and I learned that my voice is actually very multifaceted. But just because I am not singing Lacrimosa, right? I had this complex about singing. Now I don't give a fuck how off key I am. I'm gonna sing, do that Bob Dylan style. But yeah, anyway, back to this. That's one way out of the dream of hell. But for every agreement you break that makes you suffer, you will need to replace it with a new agreement that makes you happy. This will keep the old agreement from coming back. If you occupy the same space with a new agreement, then the old agreement is gone forever, and its place is a new agreement. Man, this guy is very repetitive, right? I feel like he talks in circles a bit, and it makes it a little draining on me. I'm sorry. There are many strong beliefs in the mind that can make this process look hopeless. This is why you need to go step by step and be patient with yourself, because this is a slow process. The way you are living now is the result of many years of domestication. You cannot expect to break domestication in one day. Breaking agreements is very difficult because we put the power of the word, which is the power of our will, into every agreement we have made. We need the same amount of power to change an agreement. We cannot change an agreement with less power than we used to make the agreement. And almost all of our personal power is invested in keeping the agreements we have with ourselves. That's because our agreements are actually like a strong addiction. We are addicted to being the way we are. We are addicted to anger, jealousy, and self-pity. We are addicted to the beliefs that tell us, I'm not good enough, I'm not intelligent enough. Why even try? Other people will do it because they're better than me. All of these old agreements, which rule our dream of life, are the result of repeating them over and over again. Therefore, to adopt the 4 agreements, you need to put repetition into action. Practicing the new agreements in your life is how your best becomes better. Repetition makes a master. I can tell because he is making me repeat myself a lot. as you can tell, it's against my character to repeat myself. For the sake of this book, though, I will. I will suffer for you. The discipline of the warrior, controlling your own behavior. Imagine that you awake early one morning, overflowing with enthusiasm for the day. You feel good, you are happy, and have plenty of energy to face the day. Then at breakfast, you have a big fight with your spouse, and a flood of emotion comes out. You get mad in the emotion of anger. You spend a lot of personal power. After the fight, you feel drained, and you just want to go and cry. In fact, you feel so tired that you go to your room, collapse, and try to recover. You spend the day wrapped up in your emotions. You have no energy to keep going, and you just want to walk away from everything. Every day we awake with a certain amount of mental, emotional, and physical energy that we spend throughout the day. If we allow our emotions to deplete our energy, we have no energy to change our lives or to give to others. The way you see the world will depend on the emotions you're feeling when you are angry. When you are angry, right? Because when you're angry, you embody anger. Let's be real. Just like when you embody love, you are love. Same shit. Everything around you is wrong. Nothing is right. You blame everything, including the weather, whether it's raining or the sun is shining. Nothing pleases you. When you are sad, everything around you is sad and makes you cry. When you see the trees, you feel sad. You see the rain and everything looks so sad. Perhaps you feel vulnerable and have a need to protect yourself because you don't know in what moment someone will attack you. You do not trust anything or anyone around you. This is because you see the world with eyes of fear. Imagine that the human mind is the same as your skin. You can touch healthy skin and it feels wonderful. Your skin is made for perception, and the sensation of touch is wonderful. Now imagine you have an injury and the skin gets cut and infected. If you touch the infected skin, it's going to hurt. So you try to cover and protect the skin. You will not enjoy being touched because it hurts. Now imagine that all humans have this skin disease because nobody can touch each other because it's going to hurt. Everyone has wounds on their skin, so the infection is seen as normal. The pain is also considered normal. We believe we are supposed to be that way. Can you imagine how we would behave with each other if all the humans in the world had this skin disease? Of course, we would hardly ever hug each other because it would be too painful. So we would need to create a lot of distance between us. The human mind is exactly like this description of infected skin. Every human has an emotional body completely covered with infected wounds, and each wound is infected with emotional poison. The poison of all the emotions that make us suffer, such as hate, anger, envy, and sadness, and action of injustice, opens a wound in the mind, and we react with emotional poison because of the concepts and beliefs we have about injustice and what is fair. The mind is so wounded and full of poison by the process of domestication that everyone describes the wounded mind as normal. This is considered normal, but I can tell you it is not normal. We have a dysfunctional dream of the planet, and humans are mentally sick with a disease called fear. The symptoms of the disease are all the emotions that make humans suffer: anger, hate, sadness, envy, and betrayal. And when the fear is too great and the reasoning mind begins to fail, and we call this mental illness, psychotic behavior occurs when the mind is so frightened and the wounds so painful that it seems better to break contact with the outside world. If we can see our state of mind as a disease, we find there is a cure. We don't have to suffer any longer. First, we need the truth to open emotional wounds, take the poison out, and heal the wounds completely. How do we do this? We must forgive those we feel have wronged us, not because they deserve to be forgiven, but because we love ourselves so much. We don't want to keep paying for the injustice. Forgiveness is the only way to heal. We can choose to forgive because we feel compassion for ourselves. We can let go of the resentment and declare that is enough. I will no longer be the big judge that goes against myself. I will no longer beat myself up and abuse myself. I will no longer be the victim. First, we need to forgive our parents, our brothers, our sisters, our friends, and God. Okay, let me interject again. Forgiveness. Sometimes, it means that you have to confront the thing, right? You have to assess it. If you're not going to forgive them to their face, write it down, what exactly you are forgiving and what exactly you are letting go of. And when you let go, you cannot resurface it. It doesn't come back for the blame game. It doesn't come back for all that shit. You've forgiven, you're letting it go, right? Once you forgive yourself, the self-rejection in your mind is over. Self-acceptance begins, and the self-love will grow so strong that you will finally accept yourself just the way you are. That's the beginning of the free human. Forgiveness is a key. You will know you have forgiven someone when you see them and you no longer have an emotional reaction. You will hear the name of the person and you will have no emotional reaction. When someone can touch what used to be a wound and it no longer hurts you, then you know you have truly forgiven. The truth is like a scalpel. The truth is painful because it opens all the wounds which are covered up by lies so that we can be healed. These lies are what we call the denial system. It's a good thing we have the denial system because it allows us to cover our wounds and still function. But once we no longer have any wounds or any poison, we don't need to lie anymore. We don't need the denial system because a healthy mind, like healthy skin, can be touched without hurting. It is pleasurable for the mind to be touched when it is clean. The problem with most people is that they lose control of their emotions. It is the emotions that control the behavior of the human, not the human who controls the emotions. When we lose control, we say things that we don't want to say and do things that we don't want to do. That is why it is so important to be impeccable with our word and to become a spiritual warrior. We must learn to control the emotions so we have enough personal power to change our fear-based agreements, escape from hell, and create our own personal heaven. How are we to become a warrior? There are certain characteristics of the warrior that are nearly the same around the world. The warrior has awareness. That's very important. We are aware that we are at war, and the war in our minds requires discipline. Not the discipline of a soldier, but the discipline of a warrior. Not the discipline from the outside to tell us what to do and what not to do, but the discipline to be ourselves no matter what. The warrior has control, not control over another human, but control over one's own emotions, control over one's own self. It is when we lose control that we repress the emotion, not when we are in control. The big difference between a warrior and a victim is that the victim represses and the warrior refrains. Victims repress because they are afraid to show the emotions, afraid to say what they want to say. To refrain is not the same thing as repression. To refrain is to hold the emotions and to express them in the right moment, not before and not later. That is why warriors are impeccable. They have complete control over their own emotions, therefore their own behavior. The initiation of the dead, embracing the angel of death. The final way to attain personal freedom is to prepare ourselves for the initiation of the dead, to take death itself as our teacher. What the angel of death can teach us is how to be truly alive. We become aware that we can die at any moment. We have just the present moment to be alive. The truth is that we don't know if we are going to die tomorrow. Who knows? We have the idea that we have many years in the future, but do we? If we go to the hospital and the doctor tells us that we have 1 week to live, what are we going to do? As we have said before, we have two choices. One is to suffer because we're going to die, and to tell everyone, poor me, I'm going to die, and really create a huge drama. The other choice is to use every moment to be happy, to do what we really enjoy doing. If we only have 1 week to live, let's enjoy life. Let's be alive. We can say, I'm going to be myself. No longer am I going to run my life trying to please other people. No longer am I going to be afraid of what they think about me. What do I care what others think if I am going to die in 1 week? I'm going to be myself. The angel of death can teach us to live every day as if it is the last day of our lives, as if there may be no tomorrow. We can begin each day by saying, I am awake, I see the sun, I'm going to give my gratitude to the sun and to everything and everyone because I'm still alive. 1 more day to be myself. That is the way I see life. That is what the angel of death taught me. To be completely open, to know that there's nothing to be afraid of. And of course, I treat the people I love with love because this may be the last day that I can tell you how much I love you. I don't know if I'm going to see you again, so I don't want to fight with you. What if I had a big fight with you and I told you all those emotional poisons that I have against you and you die tomorrow? Oops. Oh my God, the judge will get me so bad. And I will feel so guilty for everything I have told you. And I will even feel guilty for not telling you how much I love you. The love that makes me happy is the love that I can share with you. Why do I need to deny that I love you? It is not important if you love me back. I may die tomorrow, or you may die tomorrow. What makes me happy now is to let you know how much I love you. You can live your life this way. By doing so, you prepare yourself for the initiation of death. What is going to happen in the initiation of death is that the old dream that you have in your mind is going to die forever. Yes, you are going to have the memories of the parasite, of the judge, the victim, and what you used to believe, but the parasite will be dead. That is what is going to die in the initiation of death, the parasite. It is not easy to go for the initiation of death because the judge and the victim will fight with everything they have. They don't want to die. And we feel we are the ones who are going to die. And we are afraid of this death. When we live in the dream of the planet, it is as if we were dead. Whoever survives the initiation of the dead receives the most powerful gift, the resurrection. To receive the resurrection is to arise from the dead, to be alive, to be ourselves again. The resurrection is to be like a child, to be wild and free, but with a difference. The difference is that we have freedom with wisdom instead of innocence. We are able to break our domestication, become free again, and heal our mind. We surrender to the angel of death, knowing that the parasite will die and we will still be alive with a healthy mind and perfect reason when we are free to use our own mind and run our own life. That is what, in the Toltec way, the angel of death teaches us. The angel of death comes to us and says, you see everything that exists here is mine. It is not yours. Your house, your spouse, your children, your car, your career, your money, everything is mine. And I can take it away when I want to, but for now you can use it. If we surrender to the angel of death, we will be happy forever and ever. Why? Because the angel of death takes the past away in order to make it possible for life to continue. For every moment that is past, the angel of death keeps taking the part that is dead, and we keep living in the present. The parasite wants us to carry the past with us, and that makes it so heavy to be alive. When we try to live in the past, how can we enjoy the present? When we dream of the future, why must we carry the burden of the past? When we are going to live in the present, that is what the angel of death teaches us to do. Chapter 7. The new dream, heaven on earth. I want you to forget everything you've learned in your whole life. This is the beginning of a new understanding, a new dream. The dream you are living is your creation. It is your perception of reality that you can change at any time. You have the power to create hell, and you have the power to create heaven. Why not dream a different dream? Why not use your mind, your imagination, and your emotions to dream heaven? Just use your imagination, and a tremendous thing will happen. Imagine that you have the ability to see the world with different eyes whenever you choose. Each time you open your eyes, you see the world around you in a different way. Close your eyes now, and then open them up and look outside. What you will see is love coming out of the trees, love coming out of the sky, love coming out of the light. You will perceive love from everything around you. This is a state of bliss. You perceive love directly from everything, including yourself and other humans. Even when humans are sad or angry, behind these feelings, you can see that they are also sending love. Using your imagination and your new eyes of perception, I want you to see yourself living a new life, a new dream, a life where you don't need to justify your existence and you are free to be who you really are. Imagine that you have permission to be happy and to really enjoy your life. Your life is free of conflict with yourself and with others. Imagine living your life without fear of expressing your dreams. You know what you want, what you don't want, and when you want it. You're free to change your life the way you really want to. You're not afraid to ask for what you need, to say yes or no to anything or anyone. Imagine living your life without the fear of being judged by others. You no longer rule your behavior according to what others may think about you. You are no longer responsible for anyone's opinions. You have no need to control anyone, and no one controls you either. Imagine living your life without judging others. You can easily forgive others and let go of any judgments that you have. You don't have the need to be right. You don't need to make anyone else wrong. You respect yourself and everyone else, and they respect you in return. Chairs are the worst. Imagine living without the fear of loving and not being loved. You're no longer afraid to be rejected, and you don't have the need to be accepted. You can say I love you with no shame or justification. You can walk in the world with your heart completely open and not be afraid to be hurt. Imagine living your life without being afraid to take a risk and to explore life. You're not afraid to lose anything. You're not afraid to be alive in the world. And you are not afraid to die. Imagine that you love yourself just the way you are. You love your body just the way it is. And you love your emotions just the way they are. You know that you are perfect just as you are. The reason I ask you to imagine these things is because they are all entirely possible. You can live in a state of grace, this state of bliss, the dream of heaven, but in order to experience this dream, you must first understand what it is. Only one has the ability to put you in that state of bliss. Being in bliss is like being in love. Being in love is like being in bliss. You're floating in the clouds. You are perceiving love wherever you go. It is entirely possible to live this way all the time. It is possible because others have done it, and they are no different from you. They live in bliss because they have changed their agreements and are dreaming a different dream. And once you feel what it means to live in a state of bliss, you will love it. You will know that heaven on earth is truth, and that heaven truly does exist. Once you know that heaven exists, once you know that it is possible to stay there, it's up to you to make the effort to do it. 2,000 years ago, Jesus told us about the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of love. But hardly anyone was ready to hear this. They said, "What are you talking about? My heart is empty. I don't feel the love that you were talking about. I don't feel the peace that you have." You don't have to do this. Just imagine that his message of love is possible, and you will find that it is yours. The world is very beautiful and very wonderful. Life can be very easy when love is your way of life. You can be loving all the time. This is your choice. You may not have a reason to love, but you can love because love makes you so happy. Love in action only produces happiness. Love will give you inner peace. It will change your perception of everything, and you can see everything with the eyes of love. You can be aware that there is love all around you. And when you live this way, there's no longer a fog in your mind. The mitote has gone on a permanent vacation, and this is what humans have been seeking for centuries. For thousands of years, we have been searching for happiness. Happiness is a lost paradise. Humans have worked so hard to reach this point, and this is part of the evolution of the mind. This is the future of humanity. This is the way of life. This way of life is possible, and it's in your hands. Moses called it the promised land. Buddha called it nirvana. Jesus called it heaven. And the Toltecs call it a new dream. Unfortunately, your identity is mixed with the dream of the planet. All your beliefs and agreements are in the fog. You feel the presence of the parasite and believe it is you. This makes it difficult to let go, to release the parasite and create the space to experience love. You are attached to the judge, attached to the victim. Suffering makes you feel safe because you know it so well. But there's really no reason to suffer. The only reason you suffer is because you choose to suffer. If you look at your life, you will find many excuses to suffer. But a good reason to suffer you will not find. The same is true for happiness. The only reason you are happy is because you choose to be happy. Happiness is a choice, and so is suffering. Maybe we cannot escape from the destiny of the human, but we have a choice to suffer our destiny or to enjoy our destiny. To suffer or to love and be happy. To live in hell or to live in heaven. My choice is to live in heaven. What is yours? Prayers. Please take a moment to close your eyes and open your heart and feel all the love that comes from your heart. I want you to join with my words in your mind and in your heart to feel a very strong connection of love. Together, we are going to do a very special prayer to experience a communion with our Creator. Focus your attention on your lungs, as if only your lungs exist. Feel the pleasure, when your lungs expand to fulfill the biggest need of the human body, to breathe. Take a deep breath and feel the air as it fills your lungs. Feel how the air is nothing but love. Notice the connection between the air and the lungs. Connection of love. Expand your lungs with air until your body has the need to expel that air. And then exhale and feel the pleasure again, because when we fulfill any need of the human body, it gives us pleasure. To breathe gives us much pleasure. Just to breathe is enough for us to always be happy and to enjoy life. Just to be alive is enough. Feel the pleasure to be alive, the pleasure of feeling love. Prayer for freedom. Today, Creator of the universe, we ask that you come to us and share with us your eyes better still be closed. And to share with us a strong communion of love. We know that your real name is love, and that to have a communion with you means to share the same vibration, the same frequency that you are, because you are the only thing that exists in the universe. Today, help us to be like you are, to love life, to be love. Help us to love the way that you love, with no conditions, no expectations, no obligations, without any judgment. Help us to love and accept ourselves without any judgment, because when we judge ourselves, we find ourselves guilty and we need to be punished. Help us to love everything you create unconditionally, especially other human beings, especially those who live around us, all of our relatives, and people whom we try so hard to love, because when we reject them, we reject ourselves, and when we reject ourselves, we reject you. Help us to love others just the way they are with no conditions. Help us to accept them the way they are without judgment, because if we judge them, we find them guilty, we blame them, and we have a need to punish them. Today, clean our hearts of any emotional poison that we have. Free our minds from any judgment, so that we can live in complete peace, in complete love. Today is a very special day. Today we open our hearts to love again, so that we can tell each other, I love you, without any fear, and really mean it. Today we offer ourselves to you. Come to us, use our voices, use our eyes, use our hands, use our hearts to share ourselves in a communion of love with everyone. Today, Creator, help us to be just like you. Thank you for everything that we receive this day, especially for the freedom to be who we really are. Amen. I don't like saying amen at the end of prayers, because I don't feel like prayers are ever actually over. Close your eyes again. We're going to do another prayer. A prayer for love. We are going to share a beautiful dream together, a dream that you will love to have all of the time. In this dream, you are in the middle of a beautiful, warm, sunny day. You hear the birds, the wind, and a little river. You walk toward the river. At the edge of the river, is an old man in meditation. And you see that out of his head comes a beautiful light of different colors. You try not to bother him, but he notices your presence and opens his eyes. He has the kind of eyes that are full of love and a big smile. You ask him how he is able to radiate all that beautiful light. You ask him if he can teach you to do what he is doing. He replies that many, many years ago, he asked the same question of his teacher. The old man begins to tell you his story. My teacher opened his chest and took out his heart, and he took a beautiful flame from his heart, and he opened my chest, opened my heart, and he put that little flame inside it. He put my heart back in my chest, and as soon as my heart was inside me, I felt intense love, because the flame he put in my heart was his own love. That flame grew in my heart and became a big, big fire. A fire that doesn't burn, but purifies everything that it touches. And that fire touched each one of the cells of my body, and the cells of my body loved me back. I became one with my body, but my love grew even more. That fire touched every emotion of my mind, and all the emotions transformed into a strong and intense love, and I loved myself completely and unconditionally. But the fire kept burning, and I had the need to share my love. I decided to put a little piece of my love in every tree, and the trees loved me back. I became one with the trees, but my love did not stop me. It grew more. I put a piece of love in every flower, in the grass, in the earth, and they loved me back. And we became one. And my love grew more and more to love every animal in the world. They responded to my love, and they loved me back, and we became one. But my love kept growing and growing. I put a piece of my love in every crystal, in every stone in the ground, in the dirt, in the metals, and they loved me back. And I became one with the earth, and then I decided to put my love in the water, in the oceans, in the rivers, in the rain, in the snow, and they loved me back, and we became one. And still my love grew more and more. I decided to give my love to the air, the wind, to the air and to the wind. I felt a strong communion with the earth, with the wind, with the oceans, with nature, and my love grew and grew. I turned my head to the sky, to the sun, to the stars, and put a little piece of my love in every star, in the moon, in the sun, and they loved me back. And I became one with the moon and the sun and the stars, and my love kept growing and growing. And I put a little piece of my love in every human, and I became one with the whole of humanity. Wherever I go, whomever I meet, I see myself in their eyes, because I am a part of everything, because I love. And then the old man opens his own chest, takes out his heart with that beautiful flame inside, and he puts that flame in your heart. And now that love is growing inside of you. And now you are one with the wind, the water, the stars, and with nature, and with all the animals, and with all the humans. You feel the heat and the light emanating from the flame in your heart. Out of your head shines a beautiful light of different colors. You are radiant with the glow of love, and you pray. Thank you, Creator of the universe, for the gift of life you have given me. Thank you for giving me everything that I have ever truly needed. Thank you for the opportunity to experience this beautiful body and this wonderful mind. Thank you for living inside me with all of your love, and with your pure and boundless spirit, with your warm and radiant light. Thank you for using my words, for using my eyes, for using my heart to share your love wherever I go. I love you just the way you are, and because I am your creation, I love myself just the way I am. Help me to love, or help me to keep the love and the peace in my heart, and to make that love a new way of life, that I may live in love the rest of my life. The end. Alright. So, as you can tell, I agreed with most of it, except for the repetitive parts. And, I feel that freedom is, like, we can sit there and say, oh, you can be free in every situation. However, I have seen the difference in somebody who has financial freedom versus somebody who is financially enslaved, and it is a different kind of freedom. Find your way, and when you are abundance, right? When you embody abundance flows to you, right? That's something outside of this book that I would like to, manifest in your life a little bit. Just like when you embody love flows to you, right? So when you embody abundance will flow to you in all of its forms: emotional abundance, financial abundance, resource abundance, family abundance, like all that. That comes in many forms, and you have to be receptive to that. And when you're receptive to it, it's when you are fully embodying it. But yeah, I feel that abundance is a huge part of freedom, and that was something that was kind of neglected in that book. Abundance comes in all forms, yes. Bring yourself into alignment with that, When you feel abundance, when you embody abundance flows to you like white on rice. Alright, that's pretty much what I have for you. Namaste. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next book.